Hi there, and welcome back to the FFS podcast. Welcome back to the MWF series, and this is episode number 10 of season 2 of the MWF series. For those of you joining us here for the first time, including our guests, and are wondering what this MWF series is, because we are the FFS podcast, it's basically our midweek fixture series, so hence MWF, where we react not reactive, but we kind of review and discuss the games that have happened over the weekend. So it's midweek because we uploaded during the midweek. It's got nothing else to do. We normally also, in our first season, we even reviewed Champions League games, but here we're only focusing on the weekend games. So whether it be Premier League, La Liga, Bundesliga, Serie A, ISL, whatever the big leagues are, WSL, women's football, all that, we try and cover that as much as possible. And for today's episode, we are going to be reviewing the big game in the Premier League, and that is between Chelsea and Manchester United. So I had to get that right because we were playing at Stamford Bridge, and just to avoid any sort of internet trolls saying, no, it's not Manchester United versus Chelsea, Chelsea versus Manchester United, home's always first, I cleared that up. So it's Chelsea versus Manchester United, and it's always a big game, huge occasion. This time it's slightly different because United obviously sacked Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, came into this game with Michael Carrick as an interim position because he's not exactly the interim manager or coach. He's the sort of assistant to the interim. If for anyone who watches The Office, like a Dwight Schrute to anybody there. So that's what we came into. And to help me review this game, we've got two guests on the podcast. We've got Arvind, who's a Manchester United supporter from Chennai. He's been on the podcast before multiple times. And little unknown fact, I suppose. He is my cousin or my uncle, depending on how this thing
goes.
I was hoping that didn't come out.
No, that's good. You're his uncle.
Yeah, he's my uncle. Yeah. And we've got SK, who's not been on the podcast before, and he's a part of Chelsea Karen, if I'm not mistaken. And so that's a group on Chelsea, about Chelsea on social media. Obviously, the links will be in the description. You can go check that out there. Do some really cool stuff. I think you've done some interviews and you do your podcast as well, right?
But we do it in Malayalam, which is the language, and then plus we do a hell lot of posters on Instagram, which is in English. So you want to find really cool posters, definitely check out on Instagram.
Yeah, I've seen some of them. I mean, the graphic designing work is insane.
Yeah, and the reason was what with reference to Sarapatta Parambare with the Reese James as the boxer in that. It was awesome work by some of the designers that we had.
Yeah. So go check that out. The links will be in the description. Whether you're listening to this on the podcast or audio podcast, or you're watching this on YouTube. So just a quick reminder: the YouTube version or the video version of this podcast only available for members or patrons. So you can go check that out. We've got an entire list of membership details. You've got different tiers, different benefits like early access, bonus content, all of that. So go check that out. And so let's not waste too much time here. Let's talk about this game because obviously it was a very interesting game on paper. I mean, I don't know what you guys thought about it. So let's sort of rewind the clock back 2 hours before the final whistle was blown. So I do this for every sort of episode. So we're talking about when the team sheets were announced or handed out, when the buses were rolling into the ground. Arvind, let's start with you because United obviously have had the biggest story this week. The sacking of Ole, the hiring of Carrick as an interim manager or interim to interim, the hiring of Ralph Rangnick or the announcement that he'd signed a deal in principle. All of that going in, how confident or what were your thoughts going into this game against Chelsea?
Yeah, it was an eventful week to say the least. Throughout, like you said, all the events that you just listed. But an important fact was the team was coming off from a very, very buoyant win against Villarreal. It was not an easy place to go. They had to go, not lose to them to go through, and they ended up coming out of the night top of the table in that, that tricky group, and that table position didn't really do justice to how they played. They played really, really badly. And I thought in the end they were quite lucky to go through from that group. But all said and done, it was a very, very, very good win away. After Ole was sacked and Michael Carrick took over. So, full credit to the team for that. I think going into the game, the only expectation was to not lose. And that was very clear from the team sheet. And that was very clear from the way they played as well. Interesting fact about the team sheet, just talking about pre-match reactions to the team sheet. Fred, McTominay and Matic have played only one match together in all of their career in Manchester United. And that is incidentally also a 1-1 draw. It was against Everton. And Bailly and Lindelof have started together only in 8 Premier League games. And they've both been here about 4 years, 5 years.
Yeah.
Only 8 games. So this was a very, very new team. We've not really seen team sheet like this. So Carrick really, gave it a good twist.
Okay, I'll come to the team sheet in a bit, but SK, let's talk about the Chelsea's lineup and what your thoughts were going into this game. Chelsea, top of the table, a decent lead ahead of Man City and Liverpool. So obviously in this title challenge, you had the upper hand going into this game. I want to know your thoughts on this, on like what were you going into this game, how confident were you? But also, given that United sacked Ole, did that probably help their cause a little more? Because you obviously have this rebound that you normally get when you sack managers and have a new manager. Did you feel a little like, oh shit, I wish Ole stayed until this game and maybe got the sack after that?
I think the entire Premier League clubs wanted Ole to stay back. It's only the United fans wanted him sacked, which is pretty unfortunate. We just wished him stay back, not just for Chelsea, but also for Arsenal, maybe for the entire season. We should have actually given him much the ropes. But then having said that, jokes apart, I saw the Villarreal game because I wanted to see what's going to happen. Was there a bounce? And there was absolutely no bounce. There were holes in the midfield. Villarreal was like, they couldn't find that penetration. They couldn't make use of the opportunities. Had they made use of the opportunity, they would have won the game. United somehow held on. And in fact, it was actually in the second half. And I kind of, I was like, okay, done. I'm done with the, I was doing my own pre-match live on our Champions League with Juventus. I was like, yeah, and then the goal was scored by Ronaldo. So they were hanging on. And then moving into the game, beating Juventus of all team, the old lady 4-0. It was like a huge margin. Team was on fire. We never had questions about our defense and midfield. It was only the question about, the goals where it's going to come in. Everybody was scoring on the front. Chilwell was scoring for fun. Reece James was scoring rockets. Chilwell was out, which is like a huge concern for us because we had Alonso there. And like Alonso is always like a second favorite child for Chelsea. It's always the case. He's a good wing back. I don't know why he doesn't get the respect that he does. He's a very good wing back. You take anywhere in the world, the second best wing back is what Chelsea has at the moment. But then he's no Chilwell. And then that was their bet. But then, see, at the end of the day, right, you're facing United, you're facing Arsenal, you're facing Tottenham. It's a 50-50 game from the beginning. You always know it's a 50-50 game. It's the moment the game starts, that's when you know where the shift is going to be. So I knew it was going to be a 50-50 game, but then momentum, the form, everything was with Chelsea. And I knew this was going to be a Chelsea-dominated performance considering how we played against Juventus. And I had a kind of a hunch that Manchester United may be going to sit a little bit deep and look for counter-attack, especially this is Stamford Bridge. Was it Old Trafford? Probably we would have seen a different United. The crowd getting behind and booing the players might have affected their morale because this was not the case psychologically speaking. So United had that edge when they came to Stamford Bridge. So on paper, lineup got released, and I kind of predicted the exact same lineup that Chelsea got released. Biggest surprise, I think, the whole world. I think we had a huge argument that we heard about Carragher versus Keane on the omission of Cristiano Ronaldo on a big occasion.
Yeah.
And they went with a 4-3-1-2 on paper. So, I was confident, but not like arrogant confidence. It was like, this is going to be us game. And I kind of predicted saying that this is a game for Chelsea to lose. That's how I went into the match.
Right. Okay. Talking about Ronaldo, and it's a good sort of transition here. We have to talk about it because for me, Ronaldo is Ronaldo, the big sort of player. And it's a big match. You need to involve. For me, but I didn't mind him dropping Ronaldo. Like, he's 36. You need to manage his game a little more. You also need to sort of embed the other players in, coming in, help them, like Sancho and all of who haven't had much of chance, get them to play a lot more, because I feel like for the next couple of years, they're going to be your players who are going to be week in, week out rather than Ronaldo. So I felt like fair play. I think it's a ballsy decision. Obviously, less so because he didn't have anything to worry about. He's not going to get the job. You already appointed Ralph Rangnick. So for him, it meant
like the employee on a last week of your notice period, and it's like, I don't get a damn, I don't know
exactly. But I want to get your thoughts, because obviously the media has made so much of it, especially Sky Sports. And I just want to get your thoughts on this.
No, I thought it was a great move to drop Ronaldo, because you need to understand that Cristiano Ronaldo in 2021 is a guy who needs the ball in the box. And like SK said, everybody knew that we were not going to spend too much of the time in Chelsea's box. The game plan was very clear. So they're going to spend most of the time in United's own half, not even their box. So I think there was absolutely no benefit of having Ronaldo there for this kind of game plan. And it was proven. In fact, I really think Ronaldo being subbed on was detrimental to the way United were playing. Because then you had to pull off Sancho, who was running his socks off. You had Rashford on the other hand. They would have benefited from a Lingard being there instead of Ronaldo, for example, who would keep running around and, buzzing. So they were really trying to close the passing lanes to Jorginho and RLC. I think that was what they were focusing on. They were not really attacking the centre backs. So this is not something Ronaldo can do, and you can't. It's ridiculous to expect him to do it at this stage. He has certain strengths.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, the pressing argument's always been made, which I don't get, because Ronaldo's never been that sort of player that is going to press. So for a game, and we saw the team sheet, and we saw, like even SK mentioned, you could see what Manchester United came to Stamford Bridge to do, which is defend and hit them on the counter. And the defending part is going to be a majority of the game. And Ronaldo's not going to press. So Ronaldo's probably, yes, going to be the sole player up front, but he's not going to I didn't see that argument. First of all, I didn't see the need for the argument. It is just, like dropping a player that happens, so many times. He's been dropped so many times in Juventus, but you've never seen it been made into such an issue. Yeah. It's just the British press here. But going into the game, SK, okay, but before that, the Ronaldo being dropped, was that an extra confidence boost to you? Like a player of that sort of magnitude or that presence being dropped?
You gotta love Tuchel. I'm just watching the night at the Porto and the night against the finals, and he was speaking about Real Madrid. Okay, and he said, "We're not just playing Real Madrid; we are playing against the crest." So I had to take that crest out of the equation, right? So Tuchel comes into, like, for example, let me look at Juventus last game. Like, everybody's speaking Chiesa. We were all like scared of Chiesa, and we were like, "Where is Chiesa on the pitch?"
Yeah.
So he kind of nullifies that aspect of it. And I wanted Thiago Silva versus Ronaldo. I was like, man, that's something I wanted to see. Two legends of the game, a brilliant goal scorer, a top centre back. I wanted that to happen. But dropping of Ronaldo was a clear indication stating what the Manchester United game plan is going to be. Right? Mm-hmm. You have three defensive midfielders, like Arvind said, they're just playing for the first time, which is a news for me. And you're going with Sancho and Rashford and Bruno. The idea was they might come up pressing higher aggressively. Ronaldo is not doing that. But I kind of have an argument against this. Probably we'll discuss that when we were discussing the match review. It was a huge surprise. It was a surprise. But it was not like a surprise saying that, oh, yeah, this is good news for Chelsea. Not really. We knew, always know United is always a threat. No matter how poor they play, they always have those players that can score. So, and against Chelsea, right? When you play against an arch rival, like, does that feeling come in? We have to play against Chelsea. Like, if you lose against Watford, that hurts. But losing against Chelsea, Liverpool, that hurts even bigger. So that attitude is always there. Whether you are United or whether you are Chelsea, whatever be the plan. And let me take back Chelsea like a few months back with Lampard, when we were facing City, right? We were destroyed by City. And even this season, again, Tuchel kind of got it wrong. So United, we knew would come in. So we were like, not like extra happy, but like hugely surprised.
Okay, and now the whistle's been blown by the referee. They take the Black Lives Matter knee and all of that. And it immediately is Chelsea domination. Within the first 3 minutes, you've had I don't know what Hudson-Odoi did there. It was it's a classical De Gea save with the foot, but I mean, Cho should have really scored from there. SK, your thoughts on that?
I think that was it. See, when you're playing against United, when United playing against Chelsea or City or Liverpool, probably Tottenham Hotspur is not in the great form at the moment. You get that one chance, right? Thankfully, United gave multiple chances, which is unlike United that you will have. But then hopefully Ralph.
Like United this year.
Like United this year. Yeah, I mean, not even United last year, by the way.
Yeah.
Right under Ole Gunnar, they were like
exactly.
Maguire gets a lot of stick, but he was in my Premier League team of the season last
year. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. So you don't get those chances. You have that one half a chance you need to score, and Odoi had a 1.5 chance. It was not even a half a chance. That would have buried the game, right? Yeah. And then De Gea, I mean, hats off to this guy, De Gea, isn't it? He's gone through a big slump. He was made the butt of the joke. Dean Henderson is knocking on the door. And that pumped him up, saying that, you know what, young man, I'm still not yet done. And then he bounced back. I think brilliant for...
De Gea has always pulled up his socks whenever the defense has been so shit.
Yeah, he seems to be a better keeper when there's more activity for him to do in the game. Right? That's sort of
and I'll never forget De Gea versus Arsenal. That was like the most masterclass of
17 saves or something most in a
Premier
League. And there was this guy in the crowd saying that there are three goalkeepers. There is David, there is D, and De Gea.
But Arvind, that initial sort of attacking threat by Chelsea kind of set the tone. At one point, I saw United with 7 in the back line. I mean, literally 7 people.
They were like 10 in the back line.
No, but like 7 in like a line, like a proper line. And it felt like, I was like, okay, I know, I can see Lindelof, I can see Bailly. Who's that in the center? Okay, that's someone else there. Where is Like my screen literally couldn't show Wan-Bissaka on the extreme left. Like I couldn't find him at all. I was like, wow, how many people are there? But I just wanted to get your thought. Was it all to do with weathering the storm? You know, you knew Chelsea were going to attack. Was it all about weathering the storm for the first how many ever minutes?
It was going to be that way for the 90 minutes. So I think but had to be cleansed throughout. So we were really set the tone as if, it was very evident to everybody. But, if Hudson-Odoi had scored, then it would have rattled United in more ways than just the scoreboard being 1-0, because the entire game plan and the team sheet has been put up just to not lose. And that goes out of the picture. And even the commentator was constantly saying that if Chelsea concede off a mistake, which they eventually did, their game plan doesn't change. They still have to keep doing the same thing. But as United concede one, they have to change radically. Completely radical. They probably would have had Ronaldo in the first half, or I don't know. They would have. It had to have been radical. So I mean, good job in the end to go to halftime, and I think that was always the plan. And thanks to
letting Rudiger take a shot from that far out, another brilliant save by De Gea, but letting Chelsea centre backs take those shots from that far out, it was kind of. It was just it felt like a matter of time before Chelsea could score. It wasn't a matter of if, it was a matter of when. But unfortunately, we know what happened in the second half. But let's talk about that, because obviously, nothing apart. We know the first half was, I don't know what the statistics were in terms of possession or shots, but I'm pretty sure Chelsea would have just blown United out of the water at that point. And there was I suppose at that point, people who were saying, why did you drop Ronaldo? Ronaldo might have nicked in a few goals. It's no chance. No chances. When your entire team is playing in your half.
United did not have a shot on target. And the one shot was Bruno that was just, he was experimenting. It was like wild shot. So you can't have Ronaldo doing that. You need balls inside the box to Ronaldo. And even if Ronaldo was there, he was not going to do anything.
Yeah, exactly. So let's talk about the second half. But Arvind, let's talk about what Carrick must have told United in the second half, because they seemed vastly much more improved in the second half. You've kind of, even under Ole's, kind of been known as a second half team.
Yeah.
I don't know what either Ole or Carrick tell you guys, tell the boys during halftime. I want to know what he thought.
Yeah, I think it's been a very disturbing pattern. I know the team has a lot of fight, the ability to come back, and all of that is great. But you can't be a top team and start games so poorly. I'm not talking about this game because as pleased with the way they set up for this game. But in general, this team is too used to starting poorly, and I think maybe at some level they're a bit complacent that they always get back. So they just don't start off on the right foot. But I was overjoyed to be going into halftime at 0-0 because I knew that if you're getting into the 60, into the hour mark at 0-0, Chelsea are going to be frustrated and then some tired legs, and then you can run at them, and that's exactly what Sancho and Rashford did on that day. I was shocked at the touch that Jorginho attempted. I mean, the execution leaves that, but I don't know why he, being the last man, he had to attempt that touch. And honestly, credit to Sancho and Rashford because they came at them like snap of finger, they were out and off the blocks. I'm very worried by Rashford's decision making because throughout that run he was fucking offside.
He was offside. Yeah,
yeah.
I was like, please pass.
Sancho honestly just wanted to pass. He just wanted to pass, and Rashford was just ahead of him the whole fucking time. And I thought Sancho showed incredible composure, that mini feint in the end. Beating Mendy is not easy, mind you. Like Mendy is probably at this point the best keeper in the world on form, like the last 1.5 seasons. So I thought Sancho did brilliantly well to slot it in, but he would have given Rashford some stick later on for sure.
Yeah, I want to get your thoughts on that. I don't know what Jorginho was doing. I wasn't even paying attention at that point. I thought it was just going easy there, and then suddenly my WhatsApp group just starts binging saying, "Oh my God, Sancho," and I'm like, "Oh shit, what's happened?" And like a second later, I mean, yeah, I saw the goal, but then I was just wondering where did that come from? It just seemed so out of the blue and like against the run of play, all of that. I just want to get your thoughts. What was going through your mind when you saw whatever happened or transpired during those few seconds?
I mean, we were speaking about the Hudson-Odoi chance, isn't it? And that was actually a mistake from Lindelof. You know, the Lindelof could have cleared that ball clearly. Was it a Maguire? Was it a Varane? They would have dealt with it easily. Lindelof just was very rusty in the initial 15 minutes. And why I'm speaking that information is when you get these balls, right, there are those balls that are like tricky. Could you head it down to the goalkeeper, build summer chase, and then Jorginho had the time and space. But when he knew there were two players running up.
Yeah,
right? He had that peripheral vision, right? The only thing, it was Rudiger, it was Silva, it was Chalobah, it was any goddamn player on earth, they would have just headed it back to the two corners. It's like basic 101 football for these guys. Like for us amateurs, we might have passed it right into the player because that's how we play, right? But then born and brought up in a footballing world, they would have told it's always the corners. You divert it to the corner. You never head it towards the center, right? And there was no need to control the ball. It was like ample amount of time. And when I say ample in the Premier League, like a second is like a huge amount of time.
Yeah.
And he had that. And he said he wanted to do this. I don't know what he wanted to do. Nobody knows what he wanted to do. And then one of the most Kloppish excuse Tuchel comes up with is that there was floodlights in his eyes and he couldn't see the ball.
Great.
Right? I'm like, Tuchel, bro, you never like that. You always given up. Maybe he gave a stick to Jorginho post that. I think he's good. He doesn't criticize players on public.
Yeah.
Maybe he gave the stick, and Jorginho, kind of being a very senior statesman, knew that. But then, my God, I mean, horrendous.
I mean, you get that with these kind of
watch along. I was like, pass it along. Please pass it to Rashford. He is offside. But then Sancho did a cool thing. You are not in form. You did score a goal, but you are being picked up by United fans, ripped into pieces. And then he does this little 1-on-2. And then he shoots, and he shoots it calmly. So I would say that was a really, really calm from Sancho.
Yeah, I mean, that's crazy. Like Arvind was mentioning, to go against a keeper like Mendy, like I was expecting him to pass it, like so much. Like I wasn't sure until, of course, the replays that like he was way ahead. But I was like, okay, come on, this is like a typical FIFA goal, right? You just pass it, and he's got an open net there. Yeah, tap in. But then, oh my God, it was really calm. And I guess you get it with these kind of players. Like you mentioned, it depends on the type of players that receive these kind of deliveries. Jorginho, you kind of, I can see that he's the kind of player that would want to take that touch, that little sweet touch, and then probably play it out from there. Whereas if it was a center back or it was like a different sort of center defensive midfielder, he'd know that he just needs to head it out, or a huge pass back to the keeper, or just a hoof, something or the other. He'd not play a cute or attempt a cute touch like that. But whatever said and done, it gave me flashbacks to the Gerrard against Chelsea. But he didn't slip here. But yeah, the ball just seemed to kind of slip off Jorginho's foot. But it wasn't too far after that there was a sort of strange decision, because I think United were attempting a counter-attack, and then suddenly you see Martin Atkinson go the other way, pointing at the penalty spot.
Yeah,
I didn't know what happened, what was happening. You suddenly see Rudiger flaring up, saying something. Of course, all the United fans were like, "Why are you even opening your mouth?" All of that, and then what I would describe as a big brain move by Thiago Silva.
Yeah, right? Seriously.
Yeah, I mean, I've seen this happen.
He was smart. He knew Van Bissaka had to clear. All he did was put the leg up, and he got the hit from the penalty was clear, but the movement by Silva was good.
Yeah, go ahead.
That experience for you, right? I don't think many players would have that instinct to just put your leg there, even though he knew that he's not going to get the ball. But it was honestly a move of genius by Thiago. Like, that's just class. And the instinct, because he had a fraction of a second to get his foot in there, and he knew, and this was by instinct, by muscle memory, he knew as a defender that guy is looking to stick his foot through it. So he just had to get his foot there, and that was just genius.
Kind of reminded me of, we had this game against Spurs a few years ago, and Van Dijk gave a penalty away. I think it was Lamela who came in front of the ball as Van Dijk was supposed to kick, got him on the leg. And I'm not a huge fan of that. I mean, of course, it's a genius move from the defender or an attacking player to come in front. I'm not a big fan of it because you're kind of asking for it, and it's not exactly, but it's in the rule book, so I can't really argue against it. I'm not going to say it's not a penalty. It is a clear penalty. It's a smart decision. When it goes against you, it's kind of like, oh, you saw, like you.
I would say, see, there's a clear cut kick onto the leg, right? I mean, you look at some of the dives. I mean, I think Bruno had got a lot of stick for last season for it. It's at least much better than people diving or falling onto the penalty area.
Of course.
At least that's very clear. And I mean, you can't write a rule book on whether that was intentional or unintentional. There's always controversy.
That's right. You can't really write a rule against this move. That's the
one good thing is the accidental hand touch has now been removed, which I think is fantastic, right? If you're jumping up and then it's touching your hands, like that's not good.
Tell that to the Serie A referees. They keep giving that as well. But,
so at least that's good. So probably a little, we can never change the rule books for this kind of stuff.
No, you can't. But like I said, it's more, if it goes against you, you're like, damn it, like you feel really hard done by, because it's
because we were about 20 minutes from a freak win, a smash and grab, right? And this comes out of the blue. But I think at the end of the day, they deserved the point as well, because they really dominated the game. I think United didn't deserve to lose, but also didn't do enough to win. So overall, I think it was a fair result. So in the larger scheme of things, it was an easier thing to accept. But say this was a top 4 challenge decider last of the season or something like that, then we would have lost some sleep over it.
I mean, we were talking about Jorginho and Tuchel giving him some stick, but I feel like he redeemed himself with the penalty. At least he scored the goal. So probably Tuchel's been like, okay, man, you scored the penalty. If he missed that penalty, and I mean, De Gea's saved to suddenly, he's been not only a great shot stopper, he's become a penalty saver as well. He's never done that in his entire career.
Actually, he had to save 2 against Watford. So pretty ballsy of Jorginho to take it also after that.
Yeah, because Jorginho missed in the he missed in the Euros as well, right? So
not the Euros, the qualifiers, World Cup qualifiers.
World Cup qualifiers. I know he missed the Euro finals as well, I think. I think he was the one who missed, and then of course then they missed again. At the end. So I remember that because my stream stopped in that final just before everything. Before during the penalties it stopped, and then I put it back on and Jorginho missed. So I will forever remember that. But it was such a calm penalty. De Gea didn't make the save. It was 1-1, and after that I felt like there were few chances. Of course, I think Fred had that one chance to pass to Ronaldo, and I feel like that's where Ronaldo's brilliance could come in as a super sub. But SK, you want to say?
That was a that was one of the most horrible passes ever from Mendy to Fred. And then Fred is like, out of brotherly love, gave it back to Mendy. It was like horrible pass, equally horrible decision from Fred.
Yeah.
Yeah, Fred sort of, he loses his composure when he has the ball. Off the ball, he's one of our most important players. And
he had a decent game in the.
He was my man of the match, to be honest, because I don't know what game Sky were watching where they gave it to McTominay. McTominay was okay, but I don't know.
Oh my God, Sky gave it to McTominay.
I'm serious. I'm not joking. They gave it to Scott McTominay. I do not know why even now. But I thought Fred had a great game apart from that glaring error. I think he could have easily played through Jesse Lingard, and then Lingard could still square Ronaldo, who's on the far side.
Yeah.
So I don't know if any of you noticed, a few minutes before that, I think 10 to 15 minutes before that, Fred got the ball around the halfway mark and Mendy was way off the line. Fred, for a moment, actually thought about chipping Mendy from the halfway line. Then he realized he's Fred and he just passed it side.
He's like, I am Brazilian, but I'm not that Brazilian. Like, I can't do the cute.
I'm Fred, not Ronaldinho.
Yeah. But like that happened. And then towards the end, Rudiger, of all the players that Chelsea could have wanted, Rudiger's done well. He had the great shot in the first half. But oh my God, Chelsea could have wished that it could have fallen to anybody except for a centre back or someone with more of an attacking threat there. SK, I want to get your thoughts to that final few seconds of that.
I think there was a goal, clear-cut shot, and I was telling you, it was a game for Chelsea to lose, and draw for Chelsea is actually a loss, considering the way we dominated the game. At least this game, and like I don't remember the last time when we were like so dominant against a United squad. It was unbelievable. For the first half, United looked like a Burnley team. They were like trying to escape this 10-man defense and trying to play the long balls, hoping something would happen. Rashford, Sancho had no influence. Bruno was like trying to get involved in the game. Credit to him for running around. It was all defense. And then the first goal kind of gave United the impetus, and then they started pressing more and passing the ball a little bit more, confidence gaining. Chelsea dominates, gets the goal. We are now constantly attacking. Like 15 corners. Oh my God.
Yeah, I know.
That was a goal. And
I thought the deliveries were really bad. I think they should have tried Ziyech, instead of Alonso a little bit more. They were giving too many chances to Alonso to take this corner. And yeah, United did defend really well. I thought by even Bruno on corners, Lindelof, all of them cleared the lines really well. But Alonso was, surprisingly poor on corners.
Yeah, and also real surprising that he was on the corner duty. It could have been Ziyech or even Reece James. If you want to throw those out to singers, probably that could have also been done.
I think Pulisic came on a bit late because when he came on, he did have a little bit of an impact. And the last ball, actually, the cross came from Pulisic.
Yeah,
I thought Werner stayed on longer than he did.
Yeah, absolutely. Lukaku was very late. Pulisic was late. I think the substitution was late by Thomas Tuchel. I think he got that wrong. And nothing else, but then he got the substitution really, really wrong.
No, but Lukaku, I think he later clarified that he isn't really fully fit to come out earlier if he was better. That's why I'm using Pulisic's name.
True. Yeah.
Werner had a shocker. And even usually...
Oh, yeah.
I know Werner gets a lot of stick for bad finishing. And that's obvious. But usually, at least last season, I thought Werner was very instrumental in the way Chelsea attacked.
Yes.
His running was, very crucial to how others played well. But yesterday, even off the ball, he was very poor. So I thought he stayed on much longer than he should have.
And okay, so SK, you mentioned that a draw is sort of a loss. And a draw is probably the best result for us and for City because, yes, a loss would have been even better. But that would mean that United get 3 points. I don't want that to happen. So I was kind of hoping for a draw. But with this result and the fact that City are a point behind and Liverpool are, I think, 2 points behind, how much more nervous are you, or how crucial is December for you, especially? And I guess even January, I think Mendy goes to the African Cup of Nations. So I don't know yet because from what with this whole new variant, I don't know what Africa is going to be like. So I think that's going to be a story to follow. I think that could be fair.
I think Liverpool has more to worry rather than Mendy because they still have a Kepa. Using Salah and Mane, it's like
it is
losing both the arms.
Yeah. No, it is. But let's talk about this. So how, like, is this something? It's not a situation that Chelsea want, where City and Liverpool are right behind them, and going into this December period where there are fixtures coming thick and fast. You didn't want both of us to be right on your tail. You wanted that slender gap ahead of the two teams, and I just want to know your thoughts on this.
I think this season is still City's and Liverpool's. It's a fight between both of them. I think that's very, very clear ahead. Chelsea has been a little inconsistent. For example, I don't know whether you watched the game against Brentford, where the last 20 minutes, Brentford became a prime Barcelona, and it was all
we drew to Brentford 3 years. I know how good.
And this United game, the game against Burnley. So the good thing is those inconsistencies show a team that is gelling well, doing really well, trying to adapt, and that's a good thing. But then the team is still oil, but it's not like completely oil. The good thing about Chelsea is the defense and midfield is sorted. We don't have any problem there. It's how the attack is going to shape up.
Yeah.
And that's taking time. And I think still the season is the fact that we are still on top of the table, if not so many games, is a humongous credit to Thomas Tuchel. And it's actually us chasing the title than Chelsea and City and Liverpool chasing us.
Yeah.
So comfortable, not nervous. I think yesterday the commentator said it's always going to be the decider between Chelsea versus City, City versus Liverpool, Liverpool versus Chelsea. Those games are going to just decide the season.
I mean, talking about inconsistency, we've not been the most consistent as well. We've drawn a lot of games, and that's sort of been our
horrible, yeah.
Yeah, it's kind of been our downfall over the past couple of years. We've not lost as many, but we've drawn. Obviously, last year we've had a lot of injuries, so that we kind of brush under the table. But apart from that, the season where we came second behind City by just a point, we drew a lot of those games, and that's kind of hurting a lot more than if we had won and then lost. So yeah, it's going to be a crazy title challenge that between at least City, Chelsea, the two teams who I feel AFCON will not affect as much as compared to probably us. But Arvind, talking about United, let's sort of end it here with Ralph Rangnick's appointment. I was about to say, I was going to put a paper down and say, does Michael Carrick sign the thing? But of course, it's all. But unfortunately, at the time of recording, you've already announced Ralph Rangnick. I was going to say, let Ralph stay back in Germany, let him go help Leipzig out. But
Carrick's at the wheel, man.
Yeah, Carrick's at the wheel, but Ralph Rangnick, 6-month interim period. Post that, he goes and becomes, I suppose there's rumors that he becomes a consultant for 2 years. I want to get your thoughts on that.
That's been confirmed.
Oh, that's been confirmed. So that's his position after that. I want to get your thoughts on that.
I think the whole fan base is incredibly excited because, at the end of the day,
it's not often that you see United make such a good decision.
Exactly. Everybody's wondering, everybody's waiting for the wrong move. Ralph Rangnick, interim, great. Consultancy role for 2 periods, great. Where is the catch? Where is it coming? What's Woodward up to? That's constantly.
Do you think though he's gonna have an impact in those 6 months? To 2 years leave, I feel that we'll talk about that. But the 6 months initially, what's his role going to be? What's his target?
Yeah, I think so. I think his target is very clear to get into the top 4 because he has a clear run-in after Arsenal where he has a series of 12 games with relatively, on paper, easier opponents. And that's coming, at a good time in the sense that during the rush of games of December where other teams are going to face slightly tougher teams. So I think he has room to catch up. I think he has the FA Cup, and the Champions League qualification, as in Champions League next round, he's already through, so doesn't have to worry about young boys. So he can use that period to sort of inculcate his values and philosophy.
Not a phrase you want to hear. It doesn't have to worry about young boys. But yeah, we talk about the team. Yeah.
Yeah, that's right. But yeah, so I think he has a good series and period of games to get his philosophy in. The man knows what he's talking about. It's very, very clear when you listen to him talk. So he knows what he's doing. I think the previous 4 times he took over management this decade, 2 times he got the teams promoted. He got Schalke into the Champions League semi-final and he got Hoffenheim into Champions League places, if I'm not wrong. So basically his impact has been immediate wherever he's gone as a manager. And obviously his work as a football strategist and consultant is there for everybody to see. It's not even on a debate. I'm actually more excited about that because he's going to be in charge of making, today it's been confirmed as well by Fabrizio Romano that he's going to be in charge of picking the next manager. We'll have a crucial say in that. is also going to be, taking decisions of the contracts that are expiring this summer. So he basically has a very, very crucial role to play in how the squad is going to shape up for the next
year. That first part is important because a consultant as good as Rangnick is great, but if he doesn't have the manager to kind of throw ideas and bounce ideas off, that's not going to work. So it's good that he has some say in that. I hope it's a similar manager. My only concern with United is post that we've seen a lot of shift and chop and change with United. So if you are going to, and this is my concern with Rangnick, is he's going to implement a really good style of play, all of that. But if he goes, you need to continue that. And if a manager does not work out in that 2 years, I could see United just going back, like, let's scrap the whole thing and let's do something. So that's the next step. That's the next strong move I am sort of looking towards.
Because that's what they've been doing, right? They went from Moyes to Van Gaal to Mourinho to Ole, and all of them are so vastly different. It's not just minor variances. They're all so completely different, and they have to, scrap the players the previous manager bought and then start all over again. And then you get these net spend stats which lack context, right? Because if you take up Ole's net spend stat, it's obviously going to be huge because he was clearing out a whole room of deadwood Mourinho left behind. So people don't really understand that when they just look at numbers without context.
Yeah, I mean, this is a topic that we can talk about for another hour or so. But unfortunately, that's all the time we have to talk for this review. Thank you, SK, and thank you, Arvind, for being a part of this podcast. Pleasure having you, and great to talk about this game. Hopefully, we could have you on for the return leg fixture whenever that is at Old Trafford. I mean, I'm sure, of course, that at that point, Rangnick will still be there. Tuchel will also still be there. Yeah, hopefully. But yeah, until then, thank you for being a part of the podcast. Can't wait to host in the near future.
Thank you, guys. Thank you. Take care. Bye.
Awesome. And thank you to those of you listening to this on the audio podcast. Please do check out our previous episodes. You can do that on Spotify, Google Podcasts, Apple Podcasts, Amazon Music, Pandora, whichever podcast platform you listen to. We're there. You can also check this out on YouTube, but for that, you need to be a member. So go check out our membership program. We've got different tiers, different benefits, like I said during the podcast. And yeah, I'll catch you all on the next episode of the MWF series. Until then, I'm your host, Praddy, once again. You stay safe and see you.